So, well, I have a pleasure to chair this second panel session, which is on disability inclusive marketing. So let me first introduce, please, our panelists. We have Debra Roux, who is a CEO at Roux Global Communications. We have Suzanne Colbert, who is Chief Executive of the Australian Network on Disability. And we have Françoise Couturier, who is Design and Product Solutions Manager at AccorHotels. Thank you very much for your being here, for your participation. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So before we start to listen to the panelists, first of all, I would like to show a video which was made by UN Global Compact and which makes reference to the guide for business and disability rights, which was produced by Global Compact and ILO GBDN this year. So please, let's have a look on this video. You have the video?
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the United Nations in New York. I'm Lise Kingo, CEO and Executive Director of the United Nations Global Compact. I wish I could join you today in Geneva, and I thank the ILO for inviting me to participate in this important discussion from afar. As the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative, the UN Global Compact aims to mobilize a global movement of sustainable companies and stakeholders to create the world we want. To make this happen, we support companies to do business responsibly, aligning their strategies and operations with 10 universal principles on human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. Partnerships are essential to achieving our mission. In collaboration with ILO, we have made important human rights progress through outlining the ways in which business can respect and support the rights of persons with disabilities. All businesses, regardless of size, sector, ownership, structure, or geography, have the responsibility to respect human rights, including the rights of disabled persons. Meanwhile, the global community has also made an important pact to stimulate action over the next 15 years in areas of critical importance for humanity and the planet. In September 2015, world leaders from 193 countries adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, a truly historic UN summit. Building on the principle of leaving no one behind, this agenda emphasizes a holistic approach to achieving sustainable development and specifically calls for greater support for people with disabilities everywhere. As an important source of employment, investment, and innovation, the private sector has an essential role to play in driving this agenda forward. And we need business creativity, expertise, and leadership to be directed towards the most pressing issues for disabled persons. This includes issues related to universal accessibility and the skills gap that widens in the absence of disability-inclusive policies and practices. In this context, I'm pleased to highlight that the UN Global Compact and the ILO have jointly developed a guidance on the role of business in respecting and supporting the rights of persons with disabilities. Disabled persons account for 15% of the world's population, making it inevitable that business will interact with and have effect on their lives and livelihoods. whether through direct engagement as employees, customers or clients, or indirectly as family members of employees, the business community must be prepared to address the needs of this vulnerable population. The guidance we have developed with ILO articulates the responsibilities of the private sector towards human rights, as well as what they mean specifically for people with disabilities. The primary responsibility of business is to ensure that it does not infringe on the rights of persons with disabilities. But business also has an opportunity to proactively support the rights of persons with disabilities. And there is a strong business case for doing so. Promoting the rights of persons with disabilities and including them in society as managers, employees, suppliers, and consumers is a triple win. A win for persons with disabilities, a win for business, and a win for society. Thank you, everyone in attendance today for helping to drive this important topic forward. I wish you all a fruitful and productive meeting and hope our organizations can continue to collaborate and support the business community in realizing the promise of the global goals for all people.
Okay, so please note that you have the guide for business on the rights of persons with disabilities in the folder. And you also have an easy-to-read version, which is this one, what companies should do to support the rights of people with disabilities. So, and I've been told that this is the first time that ILO has made an easy-to-read version of a brochure, so I think it's a yes. Well, so let's start now with Debra Roux from Roux Global Communications, which is an organization, I think, in the US, which reduces the compliance and brand risks associated with inclusion so works with clients to reduce the compliance and brand risk associated with inclusion. So let's listen to you, Debra.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the invitation to speak today. I think it's a very important conversation we're having here. And I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone a little bit better as well. So today I'm going to talk about inclusion branding. I have a new book coming out. It was going to come out in October, but it's going to come out in November now because I'm waiting for a few more corporations to get me the rest of their information. You can go, or I can go to the next slide for you. Thank you. I am a global disability inclusion strategist, and there are many disability inclusion strategists right here. And so one thing that I've been doing, and I am making sure that corporations all over the world, governments, and different agencies, that we're all having the conversations in a way that makes sure that everyone is included. So I also am very proud to be a co-founder of Access Chat, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But more importantly, I'm a mother of 2 grown children, and my oldest daughter has Down syndrome. And so she is the catalyst for my work. I hit the wrong button. I lost it, so I'll look there on yours. So as we know, the world is changing, and it's changing in a lot of different ways. I'll give you this feedback. Okay, so we did it. All right, cool. Thank you. We have these cheat sheets right in front of us, but globalization is impacting these conversations, and we're right here in Geneva having a global conversation. Medical advancements are allowing more people with disabilities to, survive and benefit from the medical advancements we're seeing. Technology, we've already been talking a little bit today about artificial intelligence and all the different technologies that are coming about that support all of us, including people with disabilities. the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is a very, very important treaty. Unfortunately, the United States, we have signed it, but we have not ratified it. And I'm really hoping that my government will show some leadership in this arena. And some of the reasons why we haven't ratified it is because of our Americans with Disabilities Act, which is 27 years old. But the definition of disabilities with the Americans with Disabilities Act is different from what it is in the CRPD. So many of our global corporations, they're not sure, they get confused about which definition that they should use. So I really hope that the United States will show leadership and ratify the CRPD right away. So also this is about the digital divide. And this is about corporate social responsibility, but at the same time, I'm going to talk a little bit more about corporate social responsibility versus charity. In the United States and all over the world, we are seeing that corporations are innovating when it comes to including people with disabilities. I am less optimistic about the government's really taking a lead in this, especially right now, my government in the United States that I love so much. And so, but we're seeing a lot of very interesting innovations happening with corporations. I was very proud to work with Stefan and his team to bring the GBD into the United States along with the US CIB to talk to US corporations about getting more engaged in the global conversations. We're having a lot of national conversations in the United States about inclusion of people with disabilities, but most of these conversations are coming from a compliance perspective. And we're having a lot of litigation conversations as well. So people ask me sometimes why the United States always litigates with each other, but we put laws in place and then we sue each other to pound those laws out. I don't really recommend that you do it that way. That's just the way the United States does it. And so we're seeing a lot of the corporations really step up and really streamline their processes to make sure that everyone is being included in these conversations. And, but one thing that I'm seeing in the United States, and I'll give an example, I'm an author, and I wrote a book on tapping into hidden human capital, and it was about employing people with disabilities. I have a couple of copies with me if anybody wants a copy of it. But I wanted to do it from a global perspective, not only a US perspective. Sometimes in the United States, we're a big country, and so we just look right at the US lens. I think it's very important that we look at these as a global conversation and through the global lens. And so I had asked multiple customers of mine to be in the book. And this was in 2000, the book came out in June 2016. So I'd asked multiple corporations that are doing amazing work in the United States to be a best practice in the book, because I featured 31 corporations all over the world. And many of the US corporations said, oh no, Debra, we can't be in the book because we haven't done enough. And that's always when I meet corporations from the US, the first thing the corporation will say, oh, we haven't done enough though. We still, I just had somebody say it to me from the UK today. Oh, we haven't done enough. So those kind of conversations sort of divide us. And so we really need to make sure that we're welcoming corporations and really applauding the work that they're doing. It took a couple of years for the book to come out, and by the time it was almost ready to go to press, I had 7 US corporations come back and say, is there still time to be in the book? And I said, well, yes, there's time, but why? Why now? And what they said was, we know the litigation is not going to stop. That's just what we do in the United States. We get sued every day for all kind of different things, and we actually, there are things that, we make progress because of the litigation. But the corporations, especially in the US, where we're looking at this from the compliance lens, are starting to understand that if you are not telling us your stories, if the global corporations, the multinationals, are not telling us what you're doing, like Atos was telling us this morning, and Accenture and others, if you're not telling the community and the people that care about this community what you're doing, then somebody else might tell your story and you might not like the way that they spin the story. So we're finding that there is a nice trend happening, and I'm seeing it in the US right now, once again because of compliance and the litigation that's happening, but corporate brands are really starting to look at this, as we saw some of the leaders earlier and the leaders that joined the GBDN today. They're realizing this is good for business. This is about business transformation. This is about business innovation as well. It can't just be about your corporate social responsibility, even though there's a place to play there. It cannot always be about charity. charity. This is not a charity. We know from study after study, best practices. You mentioned earlier that you have 25 best practices and case studies, 15 case studies. We have really good data out there that proves that including people with disabilities as employees and as your clients is good for business. I like what David said from Barclays. Barclays is committed to being the most accessible bank in the world. And even though Barclays Bank isn't banking in the United States, which I hope they will, I'm a credit card user of Barclays because Barclays cares about my community. So it really is about the return on investment. I keep looking to you. So I do this particular slide for Americans because I want the Americans to know, regardless of whether we're doing it the really hard way, that we are making some progress. And so we were an innovator. We created our Americans with Disability Act 27 years ago. And so we have legislation, we have litigation, we have brand identity, we also have social media. And as some of you in the room, I'm very active on social media and been tweeting about what's happening here because the world is watching. The world is watching what is happening in this room. They know the multinational corporations are here. They know disability persons organizations are here. They know the UN through the ILO leadership and others are here and paying attention to what's happening. And so all of these things are really changing, the way that we include people with disabilities. There are some people in the United States that use Twitter maybe in an inappropriate way, and I won't name names, but but Twitter can be used, Facebook, all of these different social platforms can be used for great social good at the same time. And it's very important if you're not on these platforms to get on and tell the stories that your corporations are doing. Tell us why you're including people with disabilities. Give us your stories. It's critical that we hear the stories. And it also, it's not just about the community of people with disabilities and the community of family members that love them. The millennials have made it clear through study after study, they will spend more money to do business with a company that they consider a company that's having social impact. It's not just the millennials, but the millennials are coming out in force demanding that corporations be socially responsible corporations. Disruption, mainstream technology, and globalization, I talked about that a little bit, but it is really changing things that we can do. I loved the example that Accenture gave, the application that they created. There's so much that we can do with technology to truly include all of us in the workforce and make sure that as customers we're fully included. And once again, as we heard from the last panel on accessibility best practices, when you make a product or a service accessible, you improve that product, you make it more usable for all of us. We all benefit, customers benefit. There are so many wonderful examples of that. Uber, for example, they have a whole program that they created in the United States. And as you know, they've had a lot of very bad press. And some of it well-deserved. But they're working really hard to include deaf drivers in the United States. And so they've created an application that will flash at you, and it's large print, and when you get a driver that's deaf. Well, I personally find that app to be more helpful because often I'm in a situation where I'm not paying attention, I'm multitasking, I don't hear the phone ringing. So I find it's more usable to me, and there's many, many, many other examples. There are Samsung, Apple with their smartphones. There's so many wonderful examples of how technology and accessibility is making the world more accessible to all of us. And also, it's changing the world. ICT, the Internet Communications and Technology, it's changing the world. It's changing it so fast that sometimes it's very stressful. But the prosthetics, the wearables, the AI, the VR, there's just so many things. The smart cities. I was just in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. Saudi Arabia is doing some really amazing, very innovative things. And I really applaud the Saudi Arabian company that joined today. So we're seeing innovation come from different countries, sometimes than maybe what one would expect, but there's a lot to be hopeful about. The smart cars are going to change everything. I have, once again, my daughter has Down syndrome and she can't drive. But she's a 30-year-old woman that wants to do things without her parents. And my husband, unfortunately, has been diagnosed with early onset dementia, and his driving has gotten a little compromised. And so these technologies are going to change the world for humanity, especially if we all work together and make sure that we are being transformative and innovative. There's so many risks and touch points. Now, once again, I'm an American, so we're going to talk about the risk here. But there's so many risks associated with this, in the United States especially. You know, the employee retention, customer, there's just so many moving parts, which is why I'm really encouraging corporations in the United States, especially multinational corporations, to become part of the GBDN. And I am proud to say we have about 12 U.S. corporations that want to join. And I told Stefan, we're going to have too many U.S. companies join. He's like, I'm going to worry about that after we get, more companies in here. Because we have, right now in the GBDN, we have 2 American corporations, if I'm looking at it from my lens. We have IBM, who did a wonderful, Yves did a wonderful job today, and we have Dow. But both of those are being represented by Europeans because we see a lot of activity happening in Europe and the UK. So we felt, Stefan and I felt it was very, very important that the US corporations join these conversations. And so we're really hoping that next year when we do this again, we have at least 10 US corporations that are going to join the GBDN. You know, we sort of like to do things big in the US. But they understand they're being left out, and we're worried about being left out these days because, we decided to step out of the Paris Peace Accord, for example. So I think a lot of Americans have realized that we have to step up, and the corporations in America, we have to step up and we have to tell our stories. And I'll have a lot of the stories in the new book. This is also a market opportunity, and we have Coke, and we have a representative from Coke. And I said, I'm going to brag about you today, because they did a really cool can design that was Braille. And we have Microsoft that is showing real leadership on this. These are only a few of the commercials. We're seeing so many commercials in the United States that are including people with disabilities. The other day I was looking at, I collect these stories, but there was a woman, I have it up here on the screen, and it's a woman, she's got on a yellow sweater, and she is a mother, and she's teaching her daughter how to eat properly, because we're learning to eat properly again in the United States too. And so she's showing her daughter this healthy snack, and then the camera rolls back, and the mother, which by the way is no big deal, is in a wheelchair. And so we're seeing it over and over. I have another example up here of Comcast, which is a very large company in the United States, where they told the story from Emily's perspective. Emily was born blind. She was 7 years old. She loves The Wizard of Oz, but she's never seen it. And so they helped create how she envisioned The Wizard of Oz. So and Toyota is another example. So there's all these wonderful examples, and I'm collecting them. So if you have any other good examples, I know Barclays is sending me some of the stuff they've done, but the corporations are actually being very innovative and transformative with this, but I think we could do a much better job at telling the stories of what your corporations are doing. One case study I have, and I apologize, this print is so small, but I believe you're going to get all of the presentations, but Tommy Hilfiger. I was walking in Geneva, and I saw Tommy Hilfiger brand right there, but they worked with a designer to create adaptive clothing. And they put the brand out, they put the label out, and they were worried that people with disabilities wouldn't buy the products because frankly, they wouldn't know that they were there. So we helped market, because we're a marketing communications company, strategy and communications. And so we helped market what was happening with this adaptive clothing brand. And the brand sold out faster than any other clothing line. It's not a brand, but the clothing line sold out faster than any in their history. And what happened was when people went online, a lot of it was mothers, went online to buy clothing for their children with disabilities that needed the adaptive clothing, the zippers, the snaps, things like that. All these other lines sold out as well. Because if I'm going to be online and I'm going to be onto your accessible website and buying your products, I'm also going to buy something for my son, maybe for myself, for my husband. And so it was, and now they're so excited about this, they really want to turn this and make this even bigger, and they want to become employers, and they want to influence the entire fashion industry. And the CEO of Tommy Hilfiger, Gary Scheinbaum, he came to the event that we had in Washington, D.C. This is very exciting, the innovation that we're, can you tell I'm excited about this? But I just think there's such an opportunity here, which is why I believe so much in the ILO GBDN. I'm a big, big cheerleader and champion of it. I also believe it's important we have national conversations because every country is different. But I think it's very important that we have the global conversation. So the bottom line, as the panel before said, this is good for business. This is really about getting talent. And some of the examples that we're seeing coming from the employees with disabilities that are very loyal, they're very productive, they're very innovative, very, very good for the corporate brand. So I think there's a lot for us to be excited about. I do want to mention Access Chat and thank Barclays, who is the supporter, is one of our supporter. One of the co-founders, Neil Milliken, he was on the panel before. Three of us got together, Antonio Santos, Neil Milliken, and myself. We do this totally voluntary, and we created Access Chat. AXS Chat. We do this every single Tuesday at 3 o'clock, my time in the US. It's UK time, 8 o'clock in the Middle East, some areas. But we do it so we can get as much of the world involved as possible. But we've had 2 billion tweets, and we're talking about accessibility and disability inclusion. We've had ambassadors, we've had lords, we've had, it's just actors and corporations, and it's just amazing. We've been doing this since November 2015. And if you don't know about Access Chat, please go on Twitter and join us because the numbers, we get about a 50 million person reach every single Tuesday. Barclays Bank, they were a big community member before they decided to support us. We believe in accessibility, so we record our videos, and then we caption them. Because you know it's important if you're doing accessibility, you know you're accessible. So, but it's a weekly tweet chat. It's the largest in the world. It's second largest in the US because Hootsuite were like, who are these Access Chat people? So they changed the way they were doing their tweet chat, so their number, we're 2 in the US, but that's okay, we'll take it. We're talking about disability inclusion. If you want to be featured on Access Chat, see Neil. Neil, raise your hand, or you can see me, and we had stuff on there, so very important conversations happening on social media.
Sorry, Debra, could you conclude?
Yes, I am concluded now. Yes, thank you so much. No, I was on my last slide. Perfect timing.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I would like to give the floor to Suzanne Colbert, who is Chief Executive of the Australian Network on Disability.
Everybody's familiar with Australia. It's one of those countries in the southern hemisphere that has a lot of land and not so many people, only 24 million people, spread all around the edges with nothing much in the middle. But thank you for the opportunity for me to speak today at the Global Business and Disability Network on Disability Inclusive Marketing. At the Australian Network on Disability, our main focus, our total focus, is to advance the equitable inclusion of people with disability in all aspects of business. So we're not really just about employment, we're not really about customers, we're really about every single aspect of business, and to address the interface between people with disability and participation in business, including the importance of decision making. And our goal is to create a disability confident Australia, and I think we have a long way to go. We do provide expert advice and services on disability in relation to employers, government representatives and industry bodies. For us, it's terrific to see this real increased focus on inclusive marketing. And remembering that inclusive marketing is incidental. It's ensuring that people with disability are incidentally included in marketing. It's not special marketing. So, you know, as Deb talked about, it's about a clothing line, ensuring that some of the models have the appearance of disability and are genuinely people with disability. So it's really important that we don't ask people without disability to model the appearance of disability, because that's not inclusive. It makes sure that we illustrate diversity in a strong way, and that really gives that message of social inclusion. That's why the incidental part of it is about, it's not special. And it's really important that when organisations choose to ensure that their marketing is inclusive, that it's sustained, that it's part of their long-term strategy, not just a tokenistic approach. So it's very, very important that the company has a long-term strategy, and we'll be able to talk about some of the Australian brands who've adopted that. Remembering that when we walk around our world and we see advertising or hear advertising every single place that we go, we have this mindset, is it about us? Do we see ourselves reflected in this? We can easily tune out from products that look like they're not made for us, they're made for someone else. And it's not only products, it's also places and services. So if we feel like they're made for a particular market that is not us, we're never going to engage in that with that product, which might be a disappointment to that organisation. But I just think it's important to understand how our brain works, how we connect with marketing. And that reflecting people is very important. If we think about 1 in 3 people in Australia either has disability or is close to somebody with disability. If we don't see that reflected in the images that are part of the advertising and marketing for those organisations, we can feel like we don't connect with that organisation. And just to reflect on some US statistic here, disability is rarely portrayed in mainstream media. This GLAD report, approximately 1% of US TV roles portray disability. 1%. So if you think about how many hours of watching, it's really sustaining exclusionary attitudes and presenting a barrier rather than creating the social change that it could be. And it does reinforce that historic legacy of exclusion of people with disability being different. The same from an employment perspective. If you go onto a company's website with a look at considering applying for a role there, and you see a very only stereotypical images of employees, then you hardly see yourself working for that company. So ensuring that there are video stories, video vignettes from employees with disability, different people telling their stories, is critically important, and makes quite a big difference if your goal is to be a genuinely inclusive organisation, but your website doesn't portray any stories from employees with disability, then it's not going to support that goal. Here's some of the images I talked about earlier from that are sustained from catalogues, and I think what's interesting is the future of the catalogue. So in Australia we still have printed catalogues. I don't know how many other countries have printed catalogues, but it may be a dying art. And so you can see in this Christmas catalogue, and then this is Julius, inspired by Katia Malakwis's work with her son, Julius, and she called her organisation Starting with Julius, to encourage many of our corporates and our retailers to focus on that inclusive marketing. And so from including children, I think is particularly important when we think about the messaging we're providing in our schools about inclusive education. By including images of kids with disability from a marketing perspective, it's just business as usual, ensuring that there's a genuine reflection of all the kids that go to school, not just kids of a particular appearance. And the same we can see in terms of using a wheelchair and being able to engage with the way that we present our organisations. And it's just that if we don't see that, then we're not encouraging that market segment to come to our organisation. Here's just a few more images. Some of these are becoming way more popular, and the images with the prosthetic leg, I think, I remember not so long ago being at it was a yoga studio, and somebody complaining, well, why do we have to have this yoga studio to be accessible? What's wrong with only having an access by stairs? They couldn't actually see that there are people with disability who of course would want to use that, and that it would make sense. So we still have that mindset about who will use certain things. And if we don't make sure that our imagery shows a diverse range of people using things that we might not expect, such as swimming pools or yoga or gymnasiums, etc., we're sustaining our very old-fashioned attitudes. So, as I said previously, it's very important that we have an increased frequency and sustained portrayal of people with disability in advertising, because it's a way that we can really accelerate change in those social attitudes to disability, and promote recognition as disability is part of human diversity. It's also a really important opportunity for those models who participate in portraying the clothes or the place or wherever it is, to be able to see themselves as being able to participate as role models for others is critically important as well. And as you know, with 1 billion people in the world having disability, this is a huge market, and if we get representation in our marketing right, then we're going to be able to make sure we tap into all of that. Additionally, I mean, I feel probably as an older woman, I have a particular aversion, and I want to just bring this up because I don't want any of you who don't fit the mould that is portrayed by Australian tourism. So if I look at the Australian tourism ads, they're all young people, young white people with beautiful teeth walking on beaches. I just want to tell you, we have things other than beaches. If you're not young and you don't think you have beautiful teeth, you can still come to Australia. Try to ignore Australian tourism representation. It's not all about young people with beautiful teeth walking on beaches. That we do have other things. But if we don't see ourselves in those pictures, then we don't engage as much. So with ageing population, baby boomers are also people who go on holidays, and they might not want to go to the beach, but it's okay to come to Australia. So being able to ensure that we align the marketing of tourism to our destinations as being inclusive is becoming increasingly important. And we see this working very successfully with some cruise lines. So there are some cruise lines who have done a really good job of accessibility of cabins and other facilities, and sometimes their cruises are booked out 2 years, their accessible cabins are booked out up to 2 years in advance. Not necessarily the other cabins, but they're accessible cabins because they come under a great deal of demand. And although they haven't fully understood the market, so that you often see, and I'm sure this wouldn't happen in Accor, but the accessible room is in the least desirable location in the hotel or the least desirable location on the ship, because there might be an assumption that people who are wheelchair users can't afford a balcony room or can't afford a junior suite, or so getting that marketing right and pitching that is critically important to who your customers are, particularly linking ageing and So I might just move on from there and just promote for you, they're starting with Julius as a way of looking at the examples. There's a lot of resources and a lot of data available about the benefits of inclusive marketing and ensuring that we are truly representative of a wide diversity of people in the way that we image our organisations. And to remember that ensuring that you link with people with disability on that journey and link with the employees with disability in your organisations to talk about the portrayal of disability, both from a marketing perspective for products and services, as well as from an employee perspective. So thank you very much. Appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we listen to Françoise Couturier, who is Design and Product Solutions Manager from AccorHotels, and she will speak about a specific initiative which is called the Room for All, I think.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm part of the design solution team in AccorHotels Group in Paris. And so we have worked, as Suzanne said, you can see that most of the hotels, they have the disability room in a back corner or not very nice in design, and it's not very nice for anyone. Not for the disabled person, because you remind her that she is disabled. So especially in the bathroom is usually a hospital bathroom type, and in the room it's not very nice because the concept of the room doesn't fit well. So this part is just push us to think about a new way to design a room, and to, instead of taking the disability as a constraint that the law obliged us to have disabled room, let's take it as an advantage. Let's turn it to an advantage and make a proper room for everybody. So that will be the room for all. So just imagine one moment that you are a businessman, you are a family, or you are an elderly person, or you're using a wheelchair, or why not just, you just broken your leg. So whatever happened to you, when arriving to a hotel, you just like to have a nice room to be able to relax, to unwind, to rest. Today, so this room is not very nice. You can find business room, you can find family rooms, you can find disabled rooms, but none of them fit all types. In AccorHotels, because a client in fragility is first a client, no matter who he is, no matter how he comes, no matter what he needs, no matter how many there are, and no matter what he needs, we want him to feel welcome. So we thought up a room in which anyone would find the function he needs. A room where the use and the function gets together to create an environment suitable for all. A room where the design meets the function and allows everyone to be at ease. We worked on the concept to stop that sectarian classification of people, to stop considering that receiving client in fragility is a constraint. We turned the constraint around and transformed it into an advantage. The key words of our reflection are welcome, innovate, and inspire. We've created the smart room. The smart room joined design with functionality, flexibility with home feeling. In the smart room, all your senses are in harmony. Before going into details, I'll propose you a short video to present you the smart room. So if you can pass the video. innovation that I'd like to detail with you. First of all, arriving at the door, there is a motorized door closer that takes on the relay to open the door once you've started the movement. Hotels' doors are usually very heavy to push because they have the door closer that go against you, and someone in fragility needs quite a lot of force to open it. So I think this is a real advantage. Although we kept all the mechanical commands like switch, the lights and main commands can be controlled by digital tablets. Tablets, in that case, it's functional, and it can be also wellness, as we included in that tablet scenarios for relaxing. So the tablet scenario can ask the curtain to close, at the same time dim the light, and at the same time set up a playlist of music. You know that the main point in a hotel room is a bed. So we installed a bed, a height adjustable bed. You can set up the mattress height according to your custom. And to relax totally, head and feet are also adjustable. The bed is totally integrated in the design room and controlled by the tablet, whereas a movement detector switch on LED strip below the bed to help the client to stand up at night without waking up the partner. Attendez, si je mettais ça. We have on the left here we have a panel that is on a mast, and it's a remote control mast which hold on one side the TV set and on another side the high quality sound system for a perfect relaxation. The room behind this panel has an extra living area which one can relax on a nice sofa, and a family can watch TV all together, or a care person can have her own space. The desk here on the left, it can be placed wherever you want. It's sliding furniture along the window facade. The writing board is an easy use, as it has a cable compass that doesn't bang down as you pull it down, and the desk is equipped with USB and power sockets. The bathroom is a complex area to arrange, as you know, and most of the time the result is not very good. It results in a very cold and too spacey area. In the smart room, we have decided to use a design to integrate the famous grab bar. These bars can be used as towel bars or amenity support or grab bar. The shower head, as you can see, will be now always at your height. You can, without calling the hotel reception, you can pull it down using the flexible, and it will go down very easily and without falling down. The shower seats is adjustable height too, because lots of disabled persons told us that they need the seat, but sometimes it's very high and they can't get on. So we put it very low, and these people can get on. And it's very much pleasant to have a shower on a seat than down on the floor. The shelf that you can see here in blue is also movable, adjustable along a rail, and you can use it as a shelf for your nécessaire or for towels, but also to make a nice little space for the shower, to be more intimate. And finally, the basin, mirror, and light as a whole can be adjustable at your height by simply pushing a button, that little button on the right-hand side, black here. And so the whole system go up and down. So you can have it at your height, and your partner, for example, is higher, can put it up. Or your kids, you can put it down for your kids. So you understand that the room, the smart room, the keyword is flexibility. We want it for everybody, because everybody needs to feel at home, needs to have a nice room to relax, and without any discrimination in disabled or not disabled. We'd like all the investors, all the hospitality sector to think another way, to think that everybody can relax in a nice room, and that would be an advantage, and they will be able to sell it much more than the actual disabled room. In Accor, so we try to promote this way of thinking, and this comfortable room will offer autonomy and safety to our client, because that's what they ask. Disabled people, they don't want to have to ask all the time the reception, please do this for me, please adjust that for me. And so they want to be secure, and they want to be at their ease and have a nice stay. So in AccorHotels, we want them to feel welcome. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to the three of you for this very inspiring and interesting presentations. Thanks a lot. I think there is also, to complete the presentation, a video from Johnson and Johnson. Is that? Yeah. Is this? Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Almeida from Global Alliance for Disability in Media and Entertainment. I'm from Brazil, and this pot was made for Mother's Day by Johnson's in Brazil. I'm going to describe, for those who don't see, it showed little parts of a baby, first the hands, then the feet, and then you discover the whole body of the baby, and then you see it's a baby with Down syndrome. He smiles, and at the end it says, to us and to all mothers, every baby is a Johnson's baby. And the message in this advertising is very powerful, and it's, for us, it's priceless. Like Ruth, I have a daughter with Down syndrome, so everyone wants their baby to be a Johnson's baby, because a Johnson's baby means a healthy baby, a beautiful baby, a perfect baby. And Lucas, who's this little boy, he is all that. So I want to applaud Johnson's for doing this. And other than marketing, I think that media can change attitudes, and you can all help us with that, including people with disabilities in your advertising. I have been following, and Ruth, I'll give you a long list of inclusive ads. In Brazil, we have seen this since 2008, and it doesn't come naturally. We have to lobby, we have to induce, we had to advocate for that. And the first ones come in 2008, 2009, 2, 3, 2015, 16, 5. After this Johnson's Baby ad, we had 13 just this year. So the more they come, the more they come. And people are seeing people with disabilities as consumers. And the more we see people with disability included, the more included they will be. So we really, really count on you to include models with disability in your advertising, in any kind of entertainment. Or now I'm proud to be part of Diversify TV, which is a new award that for the diversity on television. It was given to two, one documentary and one scripted production in Cannes at MIPCOM. MIPCOM is the world's largest entertainment content market. So that's where the countries go to buy their series, the soap operas, etc. So this organization from the UK, they awarding excellence in diversity, disability, LGBT, and racial and ethnic minorities. So the ones that were awarded on the 17th in Cannes were Team Chocolate from Belgium and Employable Me from Canada. And the more we include in companies, in media companies too, is important, because the change comes from inside. And we also found that in Brazil, the minorities should come together and work as one, not just disability. And we started something called Observatório da Mídia, da Diversidade da Mídia, Media Diversity Observatory. We look for this kind of advertisements. If they're doing it wrong, we write a letter, we write articles, we do reports. And we get to know the other minorities' issues so that we can advocate for them as well. And the same things is happening in companies. Like here, I'm sure there are many companies that have teams of diversity, not just disability, that they try to change and include more diversity in the company and outside. So I just can applaud you and hope that we have many more people with disabilities everywhere, not just in the media and in companies, but out there in the world.
Thank you very much. We are running quite late now, but maybe we have time to take one or two questions. Are there any questions for our panelists? Yes.
How many hotels have got your rooms, we're all wondering?
Well, for the moment, none, because you have the premier of that room. This room has been built in the office the last month, and it's going to be shown to Accor Group from tomorrow, from not only to France, but also to all the countries where Accor is present. And the idea is for this room doesn't have any brand on it, so it's supposed to, we want all brands to use it and to take ideas for innovation or for building, and to really think that disabled persons are not other than normal person, and that a nice room can be a real business. And they should do more than the law. They should do more than only the regulation, because today it's only regulation. So we have the number required of disabled room, but not more, and we'd like them to do more. So it's for the investors, for the AccorHotel directors, for anybody to change the mind of thinking. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you again to the three of you, and let's upload again, please.